So hello and welcome to the Gerety Talks. My name is Lucian Guy and I am the co-founder of the Gerety Awards. Just like the award, this series looks to put in the spotlight and at the center of the conversation the industry's true changemakers. Today we have a very special guest, which is Maria von Scheel-Plessen. Maria is the Director EMEA at Gucci. So welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you have recently joined Gucci as the Director EMEA, where you oversee media, advertising and performance, e-commerce in 37 markets. Can you tell us more about your role?
Yes, of course. So I just joined Gucci in December, as you said, as Director EMEA. And one of my key focus areas is the topic and world of media and advertising, and also the strategic roadmap for the brand. So we are expanding in some markets. We have a very strong focus on our e-commerce business. And for me, the beauty is that the role has been newly created in the sense that now I have both the media and also integrated media, meaning performance, under my umbrella. So I have the beauty of also steering the channels which are highly contributing the e-commerce revenue. So meaningly display, social, search, affiliates, etc. So for me, I'm super excited. It's a great challenge, I have to say, also with all the new establishments we're going to set up, the new launches, new tools, and the roadmap, especially the tech roadmap. So very, very happy to have joined Gucci after 4 years at Montblanc.
And since it's a new role, let's say, that was created for you, where do you get the inspiration from, or what do you look up to when you have, since it's a new role and not something that was there before?
So very good question, because of course there is no recipe in that sense. So I have to say that from my past experience, I can leverage many learnings already, especially in the sense of team restructuring, team building, also from my technical roadmap, which I implemented, for example, at Zalando/Zalora in Southeast Asia, or at Amazon. So I have to say that this sort of digital toolkit really gave me a very good basis to also now digitalize the luxury industry even further, because it has been very conservative in the past years and decades, and now it's the time to roll up and to get going. So that is number one. Then at the same time, also I have a strong network of mentors, of peers. I'm also in a female leadership network called Mission Female. So we consult each other. Many of us have been in similar roles and faced similar challenges. But I'm very happy that I'm a very structural person, because there's no structure in place. Not many processes have been established yet. So this is also one of my key tasks, to establish and hence communication with our markets, and also build up everything from scratch. So it's a bit, I would say, still test and learn, and also always a bit of gut feeling, because you never know 100% if it's going right. But I think along the way, checking also, of course, internally with those who have been around with the brand for quite some years, can also always give you a good feeling of if you're going in the right direction.
So those sounds like a lot of big challenges.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
And talking about leadership, how do you inspire the people you work with, and what are your tips to getting the best out of them? How many people do you work with?
20.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm also hiring at the moment. So the team is going to increase very soon. And from my side, I think what I've learned is that, because I'm still a fairly young leader, very young, I can't say anymore, I would say young leader these days. So most of also my teammates are my age, some older, some a bit younger. But I feel that if you also always communicate the fact that you are on the same boat, you work towards the same direction, to always communicate a very, very clear vision, and also the steps to get there. So no one feels lost or being left behind in that sense. And then also I always lead with very flat hierarchies. So I always want to be approachable, transparent, I want to establish a failing culture. So if someone is daring to do a move and maybe it was the wrong move, I would still very much appreciate to have the right mindset in driving the organization forward, because that's what's key for me. And I think that's also the role why we are in these big corporate organizations, to spot some weak points, spot areas of improvement. And that is for me super, super important. And then as well is for me, I think the effect of being authentic and very, very close to my team. So I believe that only if you have the right level of empathy and transparency within the team, you can really move them, and also give them the trust they need. So we always say strengthen the strength and not focus too much on the weaknesses, but to also see maybe someone wants to work in a different area, wants to take on a new position. So we are very, very transparent on this. So it's, I would say, an ongoing communication and discussion.
Oh, sounds good. And you have worked in different regions and markets, helping reshape American and European brands such as Amazon and Zalora for the Asian markets that you mentioned that before. What is different about working in these two places, and what have you learned in each of them?
So I would say that in Southeast Asia and also in Europe, what is very similar is the technology and also the innovation and speed. So in both regions, I have to say I had the really pleasure to work in very fast growing organizations. While I would say that in Asia, it's still even more hierarchical. So sometimes it was a bit tricky to get things going, because you need to have the right hierarchical level, the right support level also from the internal peers to kick off projects and to bring the people on board with you. So that's, I think, something which is a bit different. I feel that in Europe, you have more empowerment, self-empowerment, peer empowerment on different levels. So that's not a blocker for innovation in any sense. While at the same time, also something which is different is that in Europe, we have a very, very strong situation in terms of brands. So especially for me working in marketing, communication, building up brands and also launching the e-commerce businesses. So that's something I noticed, that in Southeast Asia, there is still more potential for brands, upcoming brands, to establish themselves, while in Europe, we are already at the super peak. So we are very, very saturated. So you need to have very, very strong and good communication in order to break through the clutter. So these would, for me, be the key differences, having worked in both regions.
There's like more to be done in Southeast Asia compared to Europe, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah, but also your chances to then make some noise and to be heard and to become very successful as a brand are, I think, also often higher, because once you launch in like a state city such as Singapore or Hong Kong, you overtook basically a mini country, let's say, in one night. And then you also launch within the region very soon. While in Europe, once you make it in France, doesn't mean you make it in Italy or Germany. Yeah. You have very, very different expectation towards the brand and communication strategy even. So that's, I think, something which also makes it a bit easier, especially working in marketing, to do a sort of multi-regional launch, versus in Europe, it's really more a highly customized and well-targeted approach.
Okay. And what is a branding principle that you have found most valuable throughout your career?
So for me, it's to strongly emphasize and communicate on your values. So especially now with generation Y and Z being the highly strong consumers and coming in more and more into our marketplace, we need to ensure that we as a brand know what we stand for, where are our boundaries, can we associate ourselves with topics like diversity, agenda, sustainability, circular economy, etc. Does it make sense to blast out this message or not? So to be super authentic as much as possible, and then emphasize also on your strength while having a very purposeful communication. So if you pick out one or two of these, let's say, current hot topics, which are very important to today's consumer, I would always try to broaden them, try to bring them in your daily, live them also in the company culture. And by that also let this flow and impact your product assortment, your communication channels, your visual language, also super, super important. The influencers and ambassadors you work with. So do you work with an actor? Do you work with an architect or chef cook? So you can have a very diverse approach in terms of who you consider to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand. We always call them mark makers. So they leave a mark in their own field and then transport on the message. So this is for me, I would say, one of the key principles, to be as authentic and also close to the consumer while really playing on today's important messages and needs.
And you have been named on the Luxury Women to Watch in 2021 list featured by Forbes, honoring your change and transformational journey at Montblanc, and named as a future shaper by Business Bank magazine on their 2022 watch list. What do these nominations mean to you?
So I'm of course super happy to have received these nominations. It's I would say a sort of acknowledgement of hard work. Of course, I think that's the most the most obvious. While at the same time, also for me, it's key that the message, that what I'm talking about these days and the message I want to bring out there, that this is further amplified. So for me, it's really an amplifier of my communicational needs, of what I want to bring across. So especially in the field of female empowerment, of pushing friends, extended family, colleagues, peers, even further, to go the extra mile and to fight for your dreams and fight what you want to achieve. So this is for me really, really valuable to have this as an extra platform of visibility.
And you were featured in the book 101 Great Minds from Uli Riese, where you discuss the future of sound in branding. And your quote is, "A sonic experience can be a big influencing mechanism, and that has often been forgotten." Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, if you think about some jingles from I think more advertisement in the old days also, when you look at some TV ads, when you look in the cinema, you have this super resonating entry jingle also from James Bond, for example, the start of the movie. So I think sometimes the importance of sonic elements in your branding strategy might be forgotten, and especially I think can be valuable if right from the start, so the earlier the better, you create your own sound experience so that the consumer can really recognize you across different channels. This will make it easier for you also to have a higher recognition rate. And so I would really recommend to do this right from the start, whenever you launch all marketing communication channels. And for me, the best example is looking at the past visual recognitions and what we have around us and how much we connect that also to a brand. In some way also then it feels familiar, right? We feel closer to it. And it maybe also reminds us on a special experience, special moment we had in the past. So I think that can be very powerful.
And what projects are you currently working on that you can tell us about? I know this is a tricky question because sometimes people can't tell anything about what they're doing.
Yeah, but I can definitely tell about, I think it's also closely connected to the challenges in the luxury industry. So the project I'm currently working on is, for example, to establish an omnichannel user journey. So to have the same presence online and offline. And as the luxury industry specifically still has a very high share of retail revenue, it's always between 80-90%. It's very, very important, even though we are so much focused on e-commerce and digital acceleration, to not forget about your offline presence. And sometimes, no, I would say almost always, online is of course much quicker in changing the look and feel. While then for offline, we need to ensure that we have the same level of presence, the same accessibility, for example, also as a luxury brand. So omnichannel strategy, also visibility on first-party data. So especially now with the loss of second and third-party cookies, where it's even trickier for us as an advertiser to build a seamless user journey and to target very specifically, I need to ensure that I'm fueling the funnel, the upper funnel communication. I have more leads, more consumers I can contact. So to go heavily to acquisition, and for me also to build up an always on funnel, so to say, to bring more people to our communication channels. So that's also something I'm working on, to launch the right tools, connect internally also with the right counterparts. Is of course very closely connected to CM teams, for example. And then another point also I'm working on at the moment is the harmonization, but also localization of our market representation. So as you already said, no, we have 37 markets in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which I'm looking after. So they have often a very different interpretation, perception from consumer point of view of the brand. So this is something which at one point I would like to harmonize more, while at the same time also we have to have the need of localization to include locally relevant events, something like Women's Day in Russia, or you have Valentine's Day or Father's Day, which are very important gifting moments, but not so relevant across all countries. You have Ramadan in the Middle East. So this is for me also key to establish the right digital touch points to capture relevant events in information, to be there also when the consumer needs us and is looking for us, is looking for a gift or to treat themselves. And another project also I'm working on at the moment is a sort of persona building. So to also run some studies in terms of firstly looking at who is our customer today, who is our customer going to be tomorrow, including demographic facts, some interest-based characteristics, and so on, to also ensure that our targeting online specifically becomes even smarter, and we don't have too much churn also when we bring out our communicational messages. So also synchronize and improve, I would say, the audience approach, targeting approach is one of the key projects for me at the moment.
Okay, sounds like you are really super busy.
Yes.
And you also spoke in an article about new areas you explored during lockdown. Can you tell us about them, and have you carried along with them once lockdown is finished?
Yeah, so we worked more on the concept of, you I think have heard about the pop-up concept. So for example, when you launch in a mall, a small representation of your brand for a certain amount of time only, so limited time, we have started to do some more pop-ins. So also work with different concept stores, especially during lockdown when you didn't know how long the retail is going to be open for. And maybe some space became available very quickly in a location which we were always interested in. So we used that time frame, even if it's only for 1 or 2 months, to have a sort of concept store and associate ourselves with different brands. It's also very nice for sort of brand transformation approach for the consumer. Then we also emphasized more click and collect. So we used the stores, even though they were closed, as pickup space for any orders, while at the same time also we used them more as out of homes. I mean, still you had in the city some passengers, some consumers who walked by, and at airports, unfortunately, the passengers were completely gone. So we had to miss out on all the travel retail sales and visibility, but we still wanted to use in the city spaces our store windows. So we launched also some out of homes. We implemented some art walls, so really cover wrapping of some buildings to still stay top of mind and have a high share of brand visibility and brand desirability. And these were some new tactics we tried out.
Good. And I read in an article you carry 2 phones to separate the world of work and play. I love this distinction between work and play. Does this help you to achieve balance, which is something I guess with the lockdown and work from home has been like quite hard for many people?
Yes, I think it's a small start, right? So it's not it goes in the right direction, I would say. And I can only recommend, but now I get more and more pressure because of the dual SIM, so that you can have one phone and two SIM cards even. So it becomes trickier for me to push back. No, but I think it's important to not always carry both phones with me, and to not to separate also the calls and the importance. It is a start, yeah, but still not where I would want to be. Let's put it like that. Mm-hmm.
And so to finish, what keynotes have you planned for this year that you can share with us?
Mm-hmm. So I have planned to speak at the e-tail Europe and in Asia conferences in London and in Singapore, maybe also in e-tail Western Europe and in Munich. Then I have a conference, Geospatial World Forum in Amsterdam, which I'm going to speak at, and also the Tech Forum in Dubai. So this is all happening in the, I think, first half of the year. And the second half of the year is still in discussion. So I'm very excited also for some events coming up then.
Great. And are most or all of them presential? Are you traveling or yes?
Yes. Yeah. So far, travel is planned for all of them. It could be that some of them will be hybrid format, but as I will mostly be doing the keynote or opening speech, so I think I will most likely also be present.
Okay, good then. Well, thank you so much for being so busy and having time to talk to us and tell us about your job and your life. And all the best for everything that's coming for this year.
Thank you so much. All the best to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.